In Osea, when the sky tore, Maya recounted the story of her mother who witnessed the horror of the Spanish conquest of America. The narrative echoed that of a reluctant heroine of the time. Her name was La Malinche. But to tell the story, we must go back to where it began and the man who imprinted her name into the history books. His name was Hernán Cortés. He was born in Medellin, Spain in 1485. His parentage was of minor nobility, but the teenager grew tired of his provincial root. Stories of Columbus' adventure in the New World had reached fervency. 18-year-old Cortés was determined to make his mark and set out for America. In 1511, Cortés joined Diego Velázquez on an expedition to Cuba. The young man had initially impressed his superior, but their relationship soon soured, and in a few years, Cortés would defy the governor's order and left Cuba on his own terms. His mission was to explore the American continent, but his ambition soon extended far beyond. At the time, a vast territory of Mesoamerica was under the Aztec rule. The empire, led by the 9th emperor, Montezuma II, was at the zenith of their power, controlling a massive wealth and grandeur that was built upon a sophisticated civilization. Their geographical grasp was extensive, amounting to almost 500 subjugated states and 6 million inhabitants. By no means was Montezuma an inept emperor, but the rule over such a cross-cultural expanse of territories proved to be detrimental. The Aztecs demanded regular tribute from their subjects, of which included human sacrificial offerings. It was said the Aztecs believed gods had given their lives to create this world, and so humans were obligated to repay their debt in blood. On this day, February 18, 1519, with a command of 11 ships and 500 men, Cortés set sail for the Yucatan Peninsula. They landed in Tabasco and soon came to Potonchan, and it was here where the Battle of Sintla was fought. With the superior weaponry, the Spaniards made a decisive victory, and the spoils proved to be vital in the days to come. By now, Cortés knew he had gone too deep into his mutiny. There was only one way to go. He gave an order to burn and destroy every one of his ships, so no one could return to Cuba. As they pushed further inland, Cortés and his men would fight, brutalize, and massacre the indigenous people. But he also forged alliance with those who resented the Aztec rule, and among them were the Tlaxcalans, who would remain the loyal allies until the very end. On November 8, 1519, Cortés and his indigenous allies marched into the city of Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire, situated in the middle of Lake Texcoco. The grandeur of the city, its monumental temples, intricate canal systems, and gold most of all, mesmerized the Spaniards beyond their wildest imagination. Montezuma welcomed Cortés into his city, and by all accounts, their early contact was civil. The emperor even invited his guests to take up residence at the palace. But then, Cortés demanded gold and other forms of tribute from his host. Within days, the Spanish grew uneasy. They were vastly outnumbered in the city. And so, Cortés took Montezuma hostage, thinking that it would give him more control. It was anything but. What he did escalated the hostilities among the people. The Aztecs now saw Cortés and his men as invaders, and their once friendly relation was gone. As tension rose, more trouble brewed on the horizon. In March of 1520, words came that Governor Velázquez had sent for Cortés' arrest. To strike preemptively, he left Pedro de Alvarado, one of his most trusted captains, in charge of the city, and headed for the coast to fight his capture. While Cortés was able to fend off his arrest, things didn't go quite as planned back at the capital city. May 22, 1520. It was the day of the Feast of Toscato. The Aztecs were eager to celebrate the festivity. As they gathered at the great temple, Alfredo, fearing for an uprising, ordered a massacre, killing a large number of high priests and the elites. All were said to be unarmed. To the Aztecs, the act was unthinkable. Upon hearing what happened, Cortés rushed back to the capital city on June 24th. But in the few days that followed, the situation had gone from bad to worse. June 30th, 1520. It was a night forever known as La Noche Triste. The anger of the Aztecs had reached a boiling point. Cortés must make a choice. He ordered his men to carry as much treasure as they could and fled the city under the cover of darkness. But the Aztecs stood in their way. The Spanish had committed atrocities. They must now pay for what they did. And so, on this night of sorrows, a night that was painted with blood, screams, and cries of agony, Cortés watched his dream of conquest slip away. Hundreds of his men and allies perished. His goal lost forever. All seemed to come to an end, but the Conquistador was not about to give up, and neither were the Aztecs.